Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Dbacks Dispatch. For the time being, it is a two-person show. Hopefully, everything's okay there with Brett. I'm Brandon. That's Gabe. Just a couple of fanboys of the Arizona Diamondbacks that decided to do a podcast together. So, if this is your first time checking us out, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss any of our future content. Make sure to check us out on pretty much any social media you can think of: Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok. We are pretty much everywhere. We do post consistently. Twitter is our most active social media. And if you're a audio listener, make sure to check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you get your audio podcast. Make sure to check us out over there. So it's been getting an echo from Josh. So yeah, it's been a while since we had a show. I had to go to Mexico to give my dad some medicine that he left at home. So I was gone last week, and just some bad timing there with everything. But we got a good show lined up for you guys here today. As you see on the thumbnail, will we talk Geraldo Perdomo or will we not? So very excited for the show today. Again, it's a running gag. We've only watched like 3 of the games, Gabe. Everything else has either been radio or just no broadcast whatsoever. And then after the game, we get these webcam, it's literally what it is. It is a webcam pointed at home plate home runs.
Yeah, I think the best we got is like game day on the MLB app, and then if we're lucky, we get a radio broadcast. Which I do like the radio broadcast, like Mike Ferrer and Chris Garagiola, Tom Candiotti. Like they do a really great job, but it's just it's frustrating. I'm like, why is there only like 3 or 4 games a season shown on TV? Like again, you said like they show the webcam footage of the home runs. I'm like, why can't you just broadcast the whole game like that on the web?
And again, this is not something just for this season. This is every spring training. It is like this. They a lot of teams just don't see the point in broadcasting the game. So, shout out to our pleasant resident Dodger fan, Shug Knight. Shug, I do appreciate you for stopping by, my guy. Always appreciate the support. So, moving on to our first topic today, Corbin Carroll. Corbin Carroll is in second half of last season form already. He is playing so well right now. We talked about it before. He did change his batting stance. It does look a little bit, and we discussed it on the last show, it does look a little bit like a former MVP. Will he be another MVP again? We'll just have to wait and see. But Carroll has looked really, really good. And for me, the thing that has stood out the most, and it was pointed out by our prospect guru, I will say, of Dbacks Dispatch, and that's Nugget. He's really brought up the fact of his bat speed has improved just through the first couple of games in spring. Like last year, he was averaging 72 on his bat speed. So far on all his hits, this is what he's averaging. So he has 6 hits here in spring training so far, 3 homers and 3 singles. So it's 74, 74, 70.9, 74.4, 71.3, and 75.8. So it is up a couple miles an hour on the bat speed. And the exit velocity is a whole nother story. Like, got 107, 110, 88, 71, 96, and 104. On his 3 homers, literally is averaging like 107 exit velocity. He is destroying the baseball right now. He's looking amazing, and I I still go back and forth. I kind of want to put money on him for MVP, but I'm like, they're probably gonna give it to Shohei because he's gonna be a two-way player, and like, unless Shohei doesn't play, I don't see um, how he doesn't get it. So, Gabe, like, what are your thoughts on his new batting stance? Do you think um, that it's like is it a big thing that we need to be like, oh, he's going to do something, or is it just something so far that we've seen in short spurts?
So I'm assuming that's basically everything that Corbin ever does is for him to get better. He did change it a little bit last year, and we had some footage from spring, and then from the season actually started, he did change it up a little bit. Maybe got his hands a little bit higher, put his arms a little bit more back. Kind of had like a oh my god, I forgot his name, Yelich type of swing going on, which would make sense being a left-hander. But it seems with putting his arms a little bit lower, a little bit more back, it seems like it's his way to attack that top part of the zone and inside, which were his kryptonite last year. I mean, at least in the first half, any pitch was his kryptonite. But even in the second half of the season, he still struggled with those high fastballs, just not being able to get to them in time, being able to put his bat down a little bit lower. I mean, you're getting a little bit, a few seconds, a split second, I should say, um, is- of uh, of speed on that swing. So you're able to make contact with guys who are throwing 99, 100 at the top of the zone. And as we've seen throughout the spring training, there's a lot of relievers who are throwing 100 already. So this could be a way for him to adjust. And I mean, this game is a game of adjustments. You see it every year. Even Goldie, like as consistent as the swing was, go see his swing from 2012 and go see his swing now. It's very different. He's able to pull the ball a little bit differently. But Corbin, he likes to go the other way. Same with Gabby, but they also like to get power, especially um, on off speed pitches. Especially, he likes to go. He pulls those for home runs, and the other ones he kind of just slaps the other way. And because of the amount of power that he has, he's able to just hit it over the fence. But the main thing right now, I guess, maybe not so much to look at the home runs as it is the exit velocities because it's still outside. It's been windy, so any ball that gets caught up in the air is kind of a home run right now. So just the fact that it's 107 off the bat, very, very good, very telling. Everything is close to about 100 miles an hour off the bat as well. So I do think this is going to do a lot for him. I mean, I don't know if we should really get into it, but like the fact that he had his lower back tightness, I think it was sort of explained away by the fact that he uh, did some training before weight or lifted some weights before his actual game and surprise. So that would explain it. Since most of these guys, when they lift weights, they usually lift weights after games because of this situation. You start lifting weights, your back starts to hurt a little bit, or your muscles get a little sore. So you come out and you start swinging, then you're going to feel that soreness in your back or tightness in your back like he did. So I don't think it's an issue, and it could be even a little bit just a swing, just his body getting accustomed to this whole new swing. Like it takes a while to get used to anything. Like anybody listening right now, go lift a weight in a certain way, even if it's 2 pounds. Go lift it a certain way that you've never lifted it before. You're gonna be sore just because you're hitting a new muscle. So hopefully it's not much of an issue, and it doesn't seem to be. Tori wasn't concerned at all, but yeah, I do think this is going to be a big year for him, and I know that he's being predicted to hit about 30 home runs, if that. But I do think he is going to have like a 30-60 season, and I think at best this season he's going to be rivaling Ronald Acuna for that 40-70.
Yeah. Just trying to wrap my head around Corbin Carroll hitting 40 homers. It's truly awe-inspiring to me. Just because if you look at his body size, you're like, that is not a home run hitter. He's what, 5'9", 165 maybe? Like he is not like you're like there is no power there. Yet the second half that he had last year we saw it. Like when he is right, he is one of the best players in all of Major League Baseball. Like there, I remember first half of the season there were a lot of people that were like send him down to Reno, and I'm like, no, you do not send a player of Corbin's caliber down to Reno. You just you just let him work it out at the major league level. He figured it out. So we can all breathe a sigh of relief. What was I thinking? Oh, the whole thing with his back. Everyone with this team right now is going to overreact to any little bit of negative news because this team is all the Valley has right now. Cardinals are not in season. Suns are the sun. Like you just have to say, the Suns are the Suns. So like this Valley needs this D-backs team to do well, which I think
No,
they will.
and they need to start off well. I think that's something too. Like this fan
Yes.
base, I think that's kind of an issue with every fan base. But just with the way things ended last year, not getting into the playoffs, after what the success they had in 2023, and then missing the playoffs last year, I do think there's going to be a bit more of a growing impatience with this team, especially with the fact that we got Corbin Burns. Like there's the high expectations again. This team should be able to win 95 games relatively easily. So they just got to, everybody's just, got to hit the ground running. We can't have a March and April like we did last year, where I believe they were under 500 at the end of March or March, April, I guess the first technical part, like the first month of the season, technically. I believe they were still under 500. And at that point, Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly, Gerardo Perdomo, Alec Thomas, Erod, Montgomery, who else? Gurriel, Gabby, they were all injured at that point last year. I just named off like 7 or 8 guys of our starters who were already injured. Oh, and Seawald. I know he struggled last year, but at that point, just the
He
bullpen was in
started well
disarray.
though. Like
Yeah,
people forget. He like his first like 10 outings, he was perfect. And
yeah. I
then
mean, there were some there's some numbers that pointed to him maybe having a little
yeah.
bit of luck there. Like I would point out, exit velo 95, 95, 95. Um, but the main thing was just this fact that this bullpen was just in disarray at that point. Like they didn't know what to do with Justin Martinez, or because he was a rookie. They didn't know what to do with Ginkgo because they're like, should we have him close? Who should we have closing? Yes, no. So the bullpen was just all over the place last year, especially in the first early months before Seawald came in and was able to take that closer role. So then everybody can again fall in line like they were supposed to. And but overall, this team just has to hit the ground running. Like Corbin, he can't hit 150 in the first month of the season. Gino can't hit 150. We
Gino's
can't have
going
that
to.
happen.
We know he struggles early. He always does.
He struggles early, but 150 I felt was his worst of his. And if you look at his numbers,
Yeah.
it was the worst of his career overall. He did turn it on, but again, I know we've talked about the losing the amount of offense from from Walker and from Jock, but that just means guys like Corbin, Gabby, Gurriel, Suarez, all these guys have to start off hitting at least decently, at least be league average to start off the year. That's all we need, and we can win a lot of games like that, especially with this pitching staff. They don't need to be the best team in, best offensive team in the league this year because of the amount of pitching that they have, but top 5, top 10, that's still very doable. Like I said, because we got literally zero production from Suarez and Carroll, and they're everyday guys. If a guy like, let's just say, for a guy like Kevin Newman, if Kevin Newman was batting 150, we would just ignore it because he's not playing every day. But when a guy like Corbin Carroll, who at the end of the month has played 25 games, same with Suarez, and they're batting 150, then that's a problem. But so they can't keep doing that every year and expect to make the playoffs that way.
So opening day is March 27th. And so it's 30 games between then and April 30th. 30 games. Technically 16 wins is over 500. I know a lot of D-back fans don't want to say it. if this team wants to keep pace with LA, they have to at least go 20-10 in like if they want it, because if they get behind LA in June 1st, they're up by like 10 plus games. Like you like your goal should be win the division, win the World Series. I know everyone's like, "Oh, just give the West to the Dodgers. Just give the World Series to the Dodgers. They have the highest payroll, got the best team on paper." There's a reason we play the games though. And you brought it up, 95 wins. I think that should be the bare minimum this team should strive for. With this pitching staff, there is no reason why we shouldn't have Burns 15 wins, Gallen 15 wins, Kelly you can probably get 12, Erod you could probably get 12. That right there is almost 50 wins right there. Now, who slots in at number 5? I don't know. That right now is the biggest discussion. Monty, Fott, Nelson, who knows? It's just going to depend on how everything here goes. But if this team and this fan base is serious about a World Series, you got to at least be competitive. So you really cannot have these months where you're under 500. You just can't, because it's going to put you behind the 8 ball the entire season. The NL this year is freaking stacked. You have 3 teams in the West that are playoff caliber. You got 3 in the East that are playoff caliber. And the Central, there's a lot of people think it can go either way with a lot of those, the Brewers, the Cubs, the Reds, a lot of people are throwing in. So, it's not going to be a walk in the it's not going to be a walk in the park. You're going to have to work for it. And I don't feel comfortable they're at 500 at the All-Star break. There's not a lot of games left. We talked about it last year. I was one who said, "Oh, it's fine. It's the first series of the year. It's the first month of the year. It's the first 81 games of the year." We missed the playoffs by a game. I'm not doing that this year. I learned my lesson last year. I'm not going to go, "Oh, it's just one game." That one game cost us to not be in.
And the thing is, you don't want to be alarmist either. Everyone on Twitter is just, you lose one game. It's burn everything down, sell everything out. But that's, that's something that I brought up last year. It's that's not what I was doing. I was just hey, games that we have in hand, we shouldn't be losing this way. Because there was a lot of times where, and I talked about punting games, and I know we got some pushback on it, which is fine, which is understandable. I understand the thought process, but a lot of pushback when I would say punting, because it would be 5-3 in the 6th inning, and the D-backs would be losing 5-3, and you're like, all right, just a home run with the guy on first, or with Corbin Carroll, speed on first, he gets to second, and then Cattell hits a single, and suddenly it's 5-4. But what would happen most of the time, especially early on, which I would criticize Torrey for, was instead of making, the quote unquote right move or the expected move or bringing in your A bullpen, he would put in guys like Castro or Scott McGough or some other guys.
How could you forget that trash name?
C or D bullpen, and that 5-3 game in the 6th inning was suddenly ballooned to 7 or 8-3. And then, we would have what we would call the early backs in the 1st inning, score 3 runs. And then eventually in the 8th or 9th inning, they would score again. But by that point, it was kind of meaningless. They would put up 2 or 3 runs, and the games look, 8-6. And if you're scoreboard watching, you're like, "Oh, 8-6. All right, it was a close game." It wasn't a close game until the very end of it. But I think that's one of the things this team needs to do. I think because of the bullpen arms that Hazen was also able to get, guys like Graveman and Justin Martinez coming into his own. I do have more trust in these guys, and that Torrey is going to be able to have a better system, more weapons in that bullpen, so we can avoid these bullpen blowups. Because again, they would win the first 2 games, and then that last game it would just be 5-3. You're like, all right, they're right there, they can sweep. and then the bullpen would come in, they would score a few runs on him, and then I would just say, like, felt like he was punching the game. He had Ginkle there available. He had J Mart available. Like, he would have these guys available and warming up, and then you would put in Scott McGuff, and you're like, what are you doing? Like, we need to get to the ninth beforehand. Like, we can't just be wasting these, bringing these guys and having them sit up and down and then just not to bring him in. So, which is very frustrating. But like I said, like, it's not to be alarmist or anything, but it's just, you have to be realistic with the fact that every game matters. It doesn't matter if it's a getaway day and you want to give Gabby, Corbin, Gurriel, and Cattell a day off. Like, at least a couple of those guys have to play.
Cannot do half your lineup that way.
Yeah, you can't do an entire B lineup for a getaway game. It's like, you got to have at least a few of those starters. And I understand giving guys rest days, but like I said last year, if you giving rest, yeah, everyone in the comments would say, like, we need rest days for the playoffs.
You got to make it there.
They didn't make the playoffs, so they got a lot of rest this off season. So if anybody complains about having a day or needing a day off, you just had an entire month of October off.
Yeah, and I think Torey, because a lot of the comments you say, like, and all the comments the players are saying, they have a major chip on their shoulder for not making it in last year. Like, if you want to make it, don't put your fate in another team's hands. Go ahead and take care of business. Again, we've talked about it ad nauseum. How many games we can look back on that you flip it and we're in. So, but it is what it is. Jeff brings up a solid point here. Not having a dedicated DH will allow Toy to give guys rest while keeping them in the lineup. Like, so, because Grichuk will probably be the full-time DH, but also he can play in the field. So it could be one of those things where you put Grichuk in left field, you put Gurriel at DH if you want to give him a day off his feet.
Yeah.
Depending on what they do with the utility infielder position. Yeah. Same thing for Marte.
Yeah, I'm not expecting him to do a 500, 600 at bats for Grichuk either. I'm expecting more like 350. So that's enough for guys like Cattell to have an off day, or Suarez, like guys that need it.
I think there's only 3 guys I can think of that are probably going to get that 500-600 at bat: Corbin, Marte, and probably Gino. I think anyone else, it's going to be. I love Gabby. If you have a catcher that has 600 at bats, he's going to be completely useless come October. Naylor, maybe. I don't know how he's going to do. And then with Gurriel, McCarthy, Grichuk, I think they're all going to split time there. And kind of transitioning. Geraldo Perdomo, if he can stay healthy, and we've seen it already. Like, he changed his batting stance as well, a little bit. We've already seen it. He's hit some homers. Actually, I think he's only hit one, but it was really impressive. And we talked about it. It's just right here against the Cubs at Sloan Park. If he can improve his power, he'll be even more beneficial to this team and make Mike Hazen look like even more of a genius than he already is. Because a lot of casual ball knowers were like, they signed who to an extension? What has he done? For those that watch this team, they know how important El Capitan is. Like, what he does for this team is just things that you just don't see in the box score. So for all those casual watchers, they'll go and look at the box score and be like, oh, he went 0 for 3 with a walk. How did he really help? Well, it could have been one of those games where J Mart was coming in the 9th, and he struggled with the first batter and a half. Like, he had no command whatsoever. Jerry goes up there, talks to him, he strikes out 3 in a row. Like, that right there to me is one of his most underappreciated skills that he has. Just his command of this entire team. He is one of our leaders. There is no doubt about it. If you watch this team and you have watched this team for the last few years, Geraldo Perdomo is one of these team's leaders in that clubhouse. Um, he truly is just he's just fun to watch. Now, is he gonna be someone like Ellie De La Cruz that gonna have highlight after highlight, hitting bombs, stealing 5 runs in a game? Maybe not. But he's gonna do what needs to be done to help this team win. Whether that's taking a 9 pitch at bat late in the game and drawing a walk, and all of a sudden we score 3 runs that inning. That is another underrated skill that Perdomo has. Is just his ability to work an at bat. That is not something you will see in a box score. It's something you only see when you watch the game. When you're like, oh, I saw they were down 5-1 in the 6th. How'd they come back? Well, Jerry works a 9 pitch at bat, gets a walk, and he's just another number 1 hitter. So he gets up. Corbin or Marte hits a homer. It's 5-3 before you can blink. So for me, what he does is something you just can't quantify. It's something you can't teach. There's just players that have that leadership ability and have that good eye of the plate. So it is really great to see. But Gabe, are there aspects of his game or his leadership that you think are like valuable, like really important to this team's success, or do you think this team's success is more on like what we can actually determine is good, like Corbin's hitting, Gino's hitting? Like, what about what Perdomo does is so beneficial?
Yeah, so I guess there's the tangibles, which would be the accounting stats, and then there's the intangibles, which is what you mentioned about guys like Jamar, the way he's able to calm him down, the way he's able to uh, work this defense. I mean, we saw it last year when he went out. The defense, especially the infield defense, was terrible. They had so many errors. Blaze had 5 errors in like a couple of weeks. Like it was really, really bad. Just not turning double plays, balls just getting through the little gaps. Even Gino struggled too. And as soon as he came back in, defense improved and they became the best defensive team in the league. And so that's what he provides, at least in the infield. Obviously, in the outfield, it's guys like Alec. Um, but in terms of that's, I guess, the tangible aspects of his game. He does walk a lot. He's the best bunter on the team, which nowadays is doesn't seem as much value as it used to be. But if you got a guy on second and a guy like Perdomo's coming up, you can expect him to bunt, and the runners can move over to third for a guy like Corbin or for Cattell, who's ever hitting leadoff. And what you mentioned is true. Like this is a prototypical leadoff guy that we see or have seen before in the league. Guy just finds ways to get on base, gets a few hits here and there, and then you work it over to the guys with more power, like Cattell, like Corbin, and he's in the 9th spot. I don't think there's a better 9th spot hitter in the league than Perdomo, just because, again, like you said, you can go for 4 with the walk, but that walk is gonna turn into him scoring a run somehow. And he can take 9 pitches. It maybe ends in a ground out, but it still took 9 pitches right before Corbin Carroll comes up or Cattell comes up. So they're watching this pitcher. They see everything he has. They throw the kitchen sink at him, and Perdomo just fouls it off, takes his balls, and then you just see like, all right. So then just saw 9 pitches go by, and you saw everything this pitcher had, and he balloons these pitch counts. The guy can come in against Perdomo, 2 outs. He's already thrown 12 pitches to the first 2 guys, and then suddenly it's 20 pitches against Perdomo, and then you have Corbin or Cattell coming up, and then at that point, pitcher's a little more tired, and then they've thrown everything they could, so guys like Corbin and Cattell could take advantage of that as well. But yeah, it's just Perdomo is, again, he is a leader, and that is incredibly valuable. But just the fact that he's able to be a good player, he's still not great. I do think he still has a bit of ways to go to become an elite player, but I do think his ceiling would be a guy like Albies. I do think that both of their games are very similar, except Perdomo just strikes it out less than Albies does. Um,
He
but
doesn't have the homers though. So.
just does not have the homers, but he could. The leg kick, he does look a little bit bigger from what I saw of him this spring. He is still very young, and I think that's something to always remember with these guys. They're very young. They start growing into their full man bodies as well. So get a couple more pounds of muscle in there, and suddenly he's belting home runs. Maybe not left and right, but maybe he's able to get anywhere from 10 to 15 homers a season. And I just want to say that I love the fact that he runs like Jack Sparrow when he when he goes running to second or third. The way he flails his arms, I'm like, that's literally Jack Sparrow just running, and it makes a great highlight.
So I want to say thank you to Brett for deciding to wake up from his nap to join us. Dude, I was seriously worried. I'm like, Brett's usually, like, he communicates really well. He's usually in here on time. I'm like, man's not responding. Like, I hope everything's okay. Nah, the man just overslept.
Yeah, so we rearranged the man cave into just a computer room with Kayla stuff. And the futon was out, and I literally set up, and I was like, I got time. I'll take a little nap. And the next thing you know, I'm sitting there, Kayla's like, hey, Josh, I you got jokes. But she was like, oh, it's 9 o'clock, and I'm like, oh, weird. I was supposed to be up a little bit earlier. My bad. But welcome, or I appreciate you at least caring for me like that. But yeah, say my bad.
Yeah.
I thought my alarm went off, but I guess it didn't.
No, but
wakey, hands off, snaky.
Floor is yours. We're talking about the great Jerry. We know he's a cornerstone of this team. There is no doubt about it. He is one of the most beneficial players to this team. But what part of his game do you think is so invaluable for this team's success?
Honestly, that's tough because I don't know if you and Gabe already said it, but I think I know one of the ones that everyone kind of thinks of is just the presence he has with the team. I think even Mike Hazen and Mike Farron were talking about it the other day, which if you guys didn't get a chance to listen to it, that was a fantastic conversation. Hazen and Farron, it was great. But even Mike Hazen was saying where he kind of holds everybody accountable. If he's not doing something right, he will bring it up. And he's hard on himself. He will bring up things with one of the guys on the team is also not doing their job, not doing what they should be. Where that's you need that. That's a great aspect in a leader. I think it's one of those where he doesn't do one or two things amazingly or spectacularly, not in a knock to Jerry, but it feels like he's just so well-rounded in his skill set and just what he does in general, to where we even noticed about it, Mike Hazen brought it up, where there's a hole in the lineup when he's not here, because we saw last year with Blaze and some of the other guys, yes, Kevin Newman was good, but you just noticed when Perdomo's not in there, you can see a difference in the line's production. You don't get as good of an at bat. Obviously, he's not going to get a hit every single time, but it seems like he'll make the pitchers work. And we see, Cattell loves to be a first pitch swinger. We have a bunch of guys that, kind of can be first pitch swingers, or they swing a little bit too much early. Where Domo goes in there, he works counts. If he goes up there, we call him the risk king for a reason, because it seems like he always just comes through. There's a lot of aspects about his game where it's maybe he's not putting up the flashiest defensive reels, or he's having the most insane spectacular plays, but I do feel just in general, him as a player, there's when he's not in the lineup, you do notice a lot of the things that you are missing, whereas you might have overlooked a little bit when he was here, where you're damn, I didn't really fully see that aspect of his game, or that aspect that he brings to the team until he was gone. You might overlook him a little bit.
And like Gabe said, he's the best 9-hole hitter in all of Major League. Normally, even with the DH now, a lot of teams, that number 9 guy is their team's worst hitter. Jerry is not our worst hitter. And I love how you said he doesn't do one thing extraordinary. he's a nicer version of Pavin Smith, but what he does though is like his leadership skills though. Like again, that's something you can't measure in a box score. It's just something um it's just something you just either they have it or they don't. Um I'm really hoping that for me, the next step forward for him is the power. Again, I don't need 20 homers from Geraldo Perdomo. Give me 10 to 12. Um, and I think that's going to result in a just so many more runs scored. Like we won't have to rely so much on Corbin, Gino, Lourdes, Marte. Like if Jerry, like we know runners in the scoring position, he's the dude. That's another reason why he's in that 9 hole. He can drive in those guys from 5, 6, 7, and 8. So, very excited to see if this leg kick does improve his power. Again, 20 homers is asking a lot for someone that's never even gotten close to that before, but 10 to 12 out of your 9 hole hitter, and he's gonna have the walks too. So that OPS could it creep up into the 800s? That would be pretty nice for your newly extended shortstop of the future.
Yeah, I just want to say, like, I think it's unfair certain expectations, just because of the fact that the shortstop position is like the premier position in baseball right now. Like every few years, there'll be a position where it's like, oh, this is like the best position. For a while, it was first base, and then third base with guys like Chris Bryant, Arenado, Bregman. These are the positions that win all these awards and MVPs. And I think recently it has been shortstop with guys like Gunnar Henderson, Bobby Witt, Ellie De La Cruz, O'Neill Cruz. Like you have these all-star shortstops who can crank 30 home runs and steal 40, 50 bags. So I do think because of that, I think maybe fans expectations are a little bit high, um, concerning the shortstop position, but that's just not the type of player that Perdomo is. And I don't think I mean, obviously we would love to have a guy like Ellie De La Cruz or something, like a guy with that sort of power and speed, but that's not what Perdomo is. He is a guy who's going to be able to take his walks, and when this team is struggling, not being able to put guys on base, Perdomo just finds a way because he'll take, a single and he'll take a walk. And I've mentioned it before. Walks don't slump the same way hits do. You can hit a ball as hard as you can. If you play MLB The Show, you can hit perfect, and it's still an out. With the walk, you just don't swing at the right pitches, and suddenly you're on first base. And with this team, a single is just as good as a double or a triple.
We've joked about this too. Um, he's Juan Soto just without the power. Because that's the thing. Juan Soto is never really in a slump. Like, he may not be hitting, but he gets on base for the guys behind him to drive him in. Like,
I think if he's able to work on the contact, just in general, just the contact, I do think obviously he's not going to be Juan Soto because just Juan Soto generational. But I do think if you compare the numbers, I don't think he would be, super far off if he's able to at least put contact. Because same with the guy with like Arias, the guy just doesn't strike out, but he also doesn't walk either. So if he's able to creep his average to 275, 270. Like you said, I do think he could creep up into the 800s of an OPS.
I don't think that's too crazy of a prediction, or just in general. Like, there's not too many guys in the game that I feel like know their own zone. Kind of like, like you said, Juan Soto, Arise, Perdomo, Kyle Tucker maybe going up there because I feel like even when the Dbacks played the Cubs for the first game of spring, they wouldn't stop talking about him being a guy where he just walks more than these strikeouts. So definitely maybe not has like the power, but I do agree, like, just getting on base, like especially if we can get a little bit of a mixture back to that like 2023 D-backs chaos ball, just getting on base is all you need to do. Like, he's not going to be speedy like Corbin Carroll, but it's not like he's a slouch. It's not like he's, not going to be able to steal. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. I know that they're obviously very different players, but hey, Paul Goldschmidt was able to steal almost like 20 bags a season. Like, Perdomo's, I feel like, still a little faster than Goldschmidt. where you get him on there, he could still create chaos. He could still, do some things up on the bases that maybe some pitchers might not be like necessarily ready for. So I kind of agree. I think that
Also, I know everybody hates it, but he can lay down that bunt very, very well.
I don't hate the bunts. It's just sometimes where I'm like, hey, you know what? Like I feel like he could equally just get a good swing here. Like if there's a chance where he can just drive in the run with the base hit, like cool, I'll take it. But it's like, oh, if you're just trying to move the guy over to third, again, there's a reason why I'm not being paid money to be a manager of a baseball team. So like I'm not gonna try to put myself in those
Sometimes
shoes.
I feel like he does it on his own because he does it way too. I'm like, Toy wouldn't do that much. Like, I think Toy has given him the green light. If you see a guy back and you think you can do it, go for it.
Yes, I definitely a few times. I mean, I don't know. Like I feel like he's probably the one player that he does kind of just give the green light to, where he's like, all right, if you want to bunt, go ahead and bunt. But there have been a few times where I'm like, that seemed like not maybe the right situation. But I mean, like you said, if Perdomo has the green light just from Tori in general, maybe he is the one doing it. Where everyone else, he's actually like picking and choosing when to bunt, because there's not really too many guys that you want on the team. To me, the lineup feels pretty deep. Like, kind of like I said earlier, where at least he's fast enough to where you're not going to want, like Corbin last year was bunting when he was kind of slumping, and when they were playing him, because there was a few times where they're playing him pretty heavy to the pull side, when he was doing a little bit of like Alec Thomas-esque, just pulling over, rolling onto the ground to the first and second base side of the field, where you're not going to want too many guys like Corbin, Cattell, Gabby, Josh Naylor, especially. Like there's certain guys that you don't want bunting, or at least with Perdomo, like, if you can kind of keep opposing teams on their toes on the defense, I feel like he's, at least one of the players to do it, because I think he can surprise people with his speed, and if he knows how to bunt well enough, because I think bunting is a little bit of a lost art. I know there's like a big joke, like chick stick the long ball, like don't bunt, hit dingers, the whole thing, and like to a certain degree, I can definitely like get that, but then it's also one of those where that's a big reason why, like, teams, you got to be smart. If you have a chance to get runs, sometimes you got to be, look at it in the long run of, cool, bunt this guy over. We got the top of the lineup coming up, can drive them in, versus like, oh, cool, ground into a double play, strike out, pop up. Like you can still at least have a productive out. And I think that Perdomo is one of those where he just kind of keeps that in his mind all the time, where he's like, you know what? I'll throw a bunt down really quick. Fuck it. Like, I'll get this guy over to second base. Maybe if he's fast enough, like, bunt it to third. If Corbin's on first running and they're not covering, maybe he even gets to third base. Like, there's a lot of opportunity to kind of mix in a few plays here and there that could lead to, especially again, a little bit of Dbacks chaos ball from 2023 coming back to place. Bunting's never a bad option if you want to go that route.
Definitely not there. So,
I say Jeff brings up a good point here. I believe you started this one, that is just an invaluable aspect of the team, where Jeff said, how many times has an opposing starting pitcher gone through the lineup in 20 pitches or less, and then Perdomo has a 10 pitch at bat and walks and changes the momentum for the top of the order. And that's just very true, where and those 10 pitches can matter, where that's an extra inning or so, or maybe instead of them going deeper into the 6th or 7th inning, maybe the opposing manager gets the bullpen up a little bit sooner. Maybe those extra 10 pitches lead to a few mistake pitches here and there, and that lead to some, bigger crooked numbers on the board. And I think that's something where, if you're just a stat box watcher and whatnot, which, don't get me wrong, I totally get it. Like, not everybody might have the time or whatnot to watch every single pitch of every single game. So I totally get that. Every fan, the way they, take in their content is definitely different. But there are a few times where, or just a few things where we're actually watching, seeing how the games play out themselves, like pitch by pitch, might give you a little bit of a better, like, understanding, or better, open your eyes a little bit to certain points of and certain aspects of different players' games.
definitely.
Hell yeah. So like I said, I know I was on here a little bit late. So that's my bad. I know I missed the Corbin Burns talk. I believe you guys already went over his. No, we didn't. Okay. Or the Corbin Carroll. Sorry, Corbin Carroll. There's two Corbins. There's a lot of Corbins. So you guys already talked about Corbin and his bat speed and all that, correct?
We also went on a bit of a tangent, just about the whole. This team needs to get off to a hot start. Like they cannot. If they have goals of winning the NL West, the first 30 games, they really need to go 20-10.
Yeah, they got to come out of the gates. We can't have any stretches like we did last year. We're going into like April and May where we're like, wow, this team is like 5, 6, 7 games under 500. Like you basically are already punting away your chances of the division. Again, crazy things happen in baseball. Teams can go on winning streaks. We all saw what the A's did in 02. And you know, in the Moneyball stretch where they won like what the 20 something games in a row. So it is possible, but it's hard. It is really hard to do. Baseball's it's not like it's other sports like with football and basketball where the favorite will usually win. Like the bad teams are bad for a reason. Even in baseball, you can have like the White Sox still won 50 something games last year. 1 or 2 of those were against us. Like there's still going to be some moments where the quote unquote dog shit teams still win a few games here and there just because that's the way the sport rolls. So I fully agree. Like cannot come out of the gate stumbling. Like you got to hit the ground running and continuously go from there. And did you guys also talk about the quote unquote injury scare for say
Barely. We referenced it, and Gabe kind of talked about what probably could have happened. New swing, body's getting used to it, or the fact that he lifted weights that day and he just tweaks his back. But we talked about it. The state of Arizona sports right now needs this team to do well, right? Like so bad. They need it so bad because we don't have hockey. Cardinals are not in season, and Suns are the Suns. And this team has very high expectations.
Yeah, White Sox winning more than the Phoenix Suns this year. Sadly, that is what a downfall. My goodness. What a downfall. I'm very happy we're close to baseball being back because every single time, like it's one of those jokes I see on Twitter all the time where a few years ago it would be like the Phoenix Suns play basketball today and they're celebrating, and then people are now posting the gifs of like the guy with the chains being broken. It's like the Phoenix Suns don't play basketball today because that's how sad this team makes everybody. I mean, dude, we can go on a whole tangent. Obviously, we're like a Dbacks pod, but my God, I love turning it on. I'm like, oh, sweet, they're up by like 10, 12 points. Hell yeah. Then I check the score later. I'm like, how the fuck are you losing by 18 now? What are we doing here? What are we doing? But yeah, so I definitely need the D-backs to help Arizona's state of mind when it comes to sports teams. So we're not like, going into full crisis mode because my God, again, thank God I was at least raised a Packers fan, so I don't have to be absolutely.
Why are you gonna rub that in all the?
I'm just saying, like, being a fan of every single team in Arizona would make
boo him,
especially boo. But like, again, I wasn't old enough to actually fully remember 01, so if like I was able to not see a single World Series championship in my entire life, dude, I would just in single championship in general. Like the state is absolutely fucking cursed. I don't know what Colangelo did in 01 to sell our souls that made the rest of the sports teams franchises just absolutely have the worst luck ever. But like, my God, can we put the genie back in the bottle? Can we do whatever it is? Because every other team is absolutely cursed, and I'm
He
tired.
survived 9/11, and together we'll survive this too.
Look at Gonzo. You know what, Gonzo? You got a goddamn point.
He sold his soul to the devil. I really think that's what he did. It's the only thing that makes sense because of what this town has been going through sports-wise.
Yeah, so it's not been fun, but so obviously you guys talked about Corbin, his batting stance and everything earlier, but there's multiple Corbins on the team, and Corbin Burns made his I believe third start of the Cactus League as a Diamondback, this being one of his longer ones. I believe he went into the third inning. Didn't have like the craziest outing. I think it was like a 2 1/3, went up to I think 46, 47 pitches, got a few strikeouts, a hit batter, which that was a gross pitch. If you can get Kyle Tucker looking, you did something good there. But a few hits, only 1 run, 2 strikeouts on Kyle Tucker alone that day. My goodness, and am I so happy that he is a goddamn Diamondback. That is so hot. But he did have a pretty solid day again. I think would have gotten the win, obviously, if it wasn't spring training, we were going longer, but still only 1 run against a pretty decent Cubs team. Pretty happy to see, especially there's probably things that he's working on, so I'm not really too worried about the run he gave up. But my question for you guys is, especially you guys in the chat, everything like that, for younger pitchers like Brandon Pfaadt, Ryan Nelson, what do you hope they will learn from an ace like Corbin Burns? And how does Burns' pitching style complement Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly in shaping one of the potentially best rotations in the National League and maybe just all of Major League Baseball in general?
So I guess in terms of helping the young guys out, I'm not sure exactly how much he's going to do that. I don't know if this team has ever, or anybody has ever come out and said that he is a natural leader in that sort of way. Like I know guys like Verlander, that's kind of the reason why you get him to teach the young guys. But it's not to say that that's not what he does. I know Greinke wasn't really a guy to show off or like to show the young guys too much, like a mentor role. But Corbin Burns, maybe he is, and we don't necessarily know. But just the fact of having him there and creating that competition in camp and in the clubhouse, like all these guys are going to want to be better than they are. Like they were already great last year, like guys like Fod and Nelson, they were great, but now they want to be like, all right, so Corbin Burns, I need my spot in the rotation, so they're just going to be hopefully better than they were last year. And I just think having that sort of presence on the mound for this team, like, just the fact that we hopefully are going to be able to save the bullpen more because, in a 3-game series, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you have Corbin Burns, Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly. In between the 3 of them, you can probably get like 18 innings, 18 or so innings. So now you just need the bullpen to cover 9 of those innings, as opposed to how it was last year, where the bullpen had to cover half of those 27 innings or whatever it is in a 3-game series. Especially, like I know people have been worried about his strikeout rate, but his strikeout rate was higher in Milwaukee, but he also only went 5 innings. And that was like this weird restriction that they had on him. I mean, when he won his Cy Young, he only had like 163, 164 innings, which is one of the lowest ever for a Cy Young winner. But, going to Baltimore in his last couple of years in Milwaukee, he has been focusing more on getting ground ball outs, little pop ups. So he's able to go deeper into games, and hopefully that would rub off on specifically guys like Zach Gallen. Zach Gallen especially last year, he just took way too many pitches to get out of the first inning. He would throw about 30 pitches in the first inning, and then he would be playing catch up the rest of the way, and he would only end up with 5 1/3, 5 2/3, which is great. But from a guy like Zach Gallen, who's going to want to command a lot of money, he needs to go 6 innings. And guys like Corbin Burns do go 6 innings. They go 7 innings. Merrill Kelly, with the way he works quick. He can easily go 6 or 7 innings. So we have guys at the top of the rotation. The first 3 guys can go that long. And if it's a 4-game series or whatever it is, you play 5, 6 games in one week. This bullpen is going to be very well rested, and hopefully, it becomes a snowball effect where everyone is just topping each other, and they're able to each go pause, and then go
Pause.
6, 7 innings, and then hopefully at the end of the season we can look up and we have a few 15, 20 game winners and maybe Cy Youngs.
It'd be pretty crazy to have like 2 different pitchers top 5 for NL Cy Young. Definitely going to be some competition, especially when you have guys just have popularity like Paul Skeens. But I'm not putting my money on Corbin Burns. I do think that
I think he regresses just a little bit.
Oh, I think so too. I mean, who knows? If he's adding a few pitches to his repertoire, he could be equally as disgusting. If he's got a 2-seamer now, I'd thank God we're in the NL West. We don't have to face him as many times as the rest of the Central does. But either way, we'll still have to face him, which I kind of hope it happens. I don't know if I think the Dbacks play the Pirates here this year since we played in Pittsburgh last year. So I'm okay with it because that means I get to hopefully see Paul Skeens. I don't hate that at all. But like Gabe said, I do think that having a guy at the top of the rotation that can give you borderline guaranteed 6+ innings a start Obviously, every pitcher's going to have a blow up start here and there. That's, you can't really avoid that. That's just baseball in general. But I think having a guy like that can kind of, set the tone, set the pace for just the rest of the rotation, and especially with, the way the bullpen's kind of stacking out. Like, it's not like we just have Puck, Jamar, or Ginkle. Like, Dre Jameson looks like he could be pretty nasty. If Shelby Miller can actually, kind of bounce back to what he was doing for the Dodgers and their bullpen a few years ago, he could be a really nice piece out there. If Ryan Nelson does end up getting moved to the bullpen, which I still think they'll keep him as a starter just to have that depth option there down like Reno. There's a lot of stuff we can do, and it'll keep that bullpen fresh all year long. If, like Gabe said, in the 3-game series, you're only needing 9 innings out of those guys versus what we've seen in the past. Like with sometimes when Gallen has those stretches where he only goes, 5 innings, and we're already having to get into the bullpen in the 6th inning and having to use so many guys to where those innings rack up by the time the season comes around or the end of the season comes around. They're not as effective, and they don't have the same kind of oomph on their stuff as they did early on. So Jeff did bring up a
No.
Okay.
That was I was gonna use that on.
Perfect. Then I'll just pass it on to you then. Perfect segue. So kind of same question to you, Brandon. Is there anything that, you think these younger guys are learning from Burns himself? And then do you think that maybe he will be able to kind of like bring out some of the better sides of Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly? Because again, they're both competitors. They don't want to be one-upped. They don't want to be as Gabe said, maybe they're gonna, top each other off every single time they get the chance. Like they're gonna kind of like fight or feed off of each other's energy and be like, all right, cool. You went 6 innings. I'm gonna go 6 1/3, or I'm gonna go 7. I'm gonna go 7 1/3. Like they're gonna kind of use that as like their own way to, kind of compete with each other and prove, like, obviously in like the all love kind of aspect where it's like, yeah, cool, we're all on the same team. There's like friendly competition where it's like, all right, I like, who had more innings this week? All right, you pay for dinner next time we go out for pitchers dinner. Or, oh, like I had more strikeouts than you this week. All right, cool. Then like, you get my dry cleaning bill this week. Kind of like one of those things where I feel like it's going to bring out a lot of good, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts as well, Brandon.
Yeah. So everyone knows Corbin Burns' best pitch is his cutter. He does not have a typical 4-seam fastball. He has his cutter. And when they signed him, I'm like, if one of our young guys can develop a good cutter, like if Fott can develop his cutter, which, as Jeff points out, Fott has been using the cutter. So he's already learning from Corbin Burns. Like, if he can add that pitch to his repertoire, it's going to be nasty. Like, again, it doesn't have to be as dominant and use as much as Burns does, but if Fott can use it to kind of just another pitch in his repertoire, he really needs. And also, Corbin Burns added a sweeper. That pitch he got on Kyle Tucker that made him look nasty, that was a sweeper. So because we know Gallen doesn't really throw that. Kelly doesn't really throw that. Fott's the one that really throws that sweeper. So it was like, you teach me your cutter, I'll teach you my sweeper. Like, just maybe that's how it went, but can you imagine if Corbin Burns adds a sweeper? Like, that's like the one pitch that I feel a lot of these, like, Zach Wheeler has a sweeper and it's nasty. It is it is one of the top pitches that he has. So if, again, it does not have to be his prominent pitch, but if he has it and he uses it frequent enough, it's going to keep these batters on edge to be looking for it, or then they don't remember it and then he gets them. Like, it could be really, really deadly. Jeff also brings up a solid point. Drake Jameson, as Brett brought up. This might be the back end bullpen piece we needed to acquire, and we just had to wait for him to come back from Tommy John. Like, he has hit triple, and Dre has the vibe that you want from your closer. I wouldn't be surprised if Dre is our closer come June or July. Like, I think his stuff is just that good. and that's what I love about the back end of this bullpen. If Dre makes the team out of camp, you have 4 guys in the back end of that bullpen that could be closers. You got AJ Puck, you got Justin Martinez, you got Kevin Ginkel, and you got Dre Jameson. Like, that is some deadly stuff. And those 4 right there is why I feel confident to say that this team could have a top 10 bullpen. We could have a top 10 bullpen, a top 10 pitching rotation, top 10 offense. That, if you don't get 90 to 95 wins with that, I don't know what else could have gone wrong. And I'm knocking on my desk right freaking now because I know I say that and something absolutely ridiculous will happen. I don't know what it would be, but I don't like. I'm superstitious, y'all.
Insert. You're not little stitious. You're superstitious. Insert the from Archer, where the doctor's like, "Stop! My penis can only get so erect." Like the fact of if Burns and Fott have already taught each other a few things, and if they can be at the top of their game all season with that bullpen, oh my goodness, like, it's gonna be a beautiful 2025, and I just already want it to be.
I said it before you came on. This pitching rotation could have 2 15-game winners and potentially 2 or 3 guys that get 12 wins. That's almost half your wins right freaking there. Like, that's, if you can get 50 plus wins from your starting rotation, that does not include your bullpen guys getting wins too. Like that's why
Josh has got jokes.
Of course he
I love
does.
it. Dre James, Trier's own brother saw the 1-on-1, realized no one was stopping him going from triple digits, and oh boy, is that fucking true. Been a few times where I'm even the other day coming home from Top Golf with me and my buddy Juan and Jason. I was like, wow, holy shit, like I'm going a little bit faster than I planned. So it can happen to everybody, and I guess Dre Jameson is not alone in that because my goodness, I forgot how electric Dre is to watch, man. He is so fun.
Dude, I love, and the damn Scooby-Doo cleats are just for legal reasons.
Yes, I wasn't touching 100. I was definitely, maybe pushing like the 80s, and I quickly realized like, whoa, let me back off the gas a little bit there.
Yeah,
I know Dre's not doing that.
Dre also has one of the best quotes of all time.
Put fire in my blood.
Puts fire in my blood. Like, how do you, like, that's such a closer thing to say, because he's gonna go 110 miles an hour for 10 to 15 pitches, and that's all you need him to do. So I really, because from all reports say he's pitching really, really well. So I hope he makes this team out of camp, because the more I would rather have more high leverage guys. I just would, because that's the reason that we didn't make the playoffs, was due to lack of high leverage guys. So
Burnout, especially because of the bullpen being used so much. Guys like Ryan Thompson weren't as effective. Him, Ginkel, we saw times where I think both of them had like over 60 appearances, and a few of them went I think they at least had like on 1 or 2 hands times where you can count them going at least more than an inning, like anywhere from an inning and a third to a full 2 innings, depending on what we need from them. And again, that takes a toll, because the more innings you pitch, the more tape there is out there for guys to kind of look at, you see what you're working with, kind of like be able to have a better, approach at the plate. So I just think that it kind of starts from the top down, where if we have a better rotation, it means we're doing good because, the starters going deeper into games. The bullpen's not having to be used as much. Lovello can save his more high leverage arms for situations when they need it. And I think that's just, it's the best of both worlds situation. Maybe not Hannah Montana, but it is going to be something that we want to, kind of be grateful for. Sorry, that was a terrible joke in there. I apologize for it.
Joe Mantiply had 75 games last year.
Yeah,
Hinkle had 72. Thompson had 67.
That's disgusting. So if we can avoid them having that many appearances again, then that would be fantastic. But any final thoughts on Burns and what he's doing to this rotation before we move on to our next topic, gentlemen? No? All right.
We have 2 Cy Young candidates in our starting rotation. I will die on that hill.
You mean 3 with Jordan Montgomery? I'm kidding.
Mm.
I'm just joking. I'm just joking. I don't think Jordan Montgomery and Cy Young has ever been in the same sentence until I've done it tonight twice. So I like to keep the jokes, keep you guys on your toes. That's funny. But there was a little bit of a famous visiting the Diamondbacks clubhouse. Probably something that I didn't know until I saw it. But the D-backs did have Kevin Costner actually visiting the D-backs clubhouse. Not exactly sure what he was doing there, but it is. I'm trying to remember what movie that he's famous for. I don't know why it's not
Dances with Wolves.
Danceable. I thought there was a sports movie that he was really popular in.
Bull Durham.
Yeah, Bull Durham. Thank you.
Field of Dreams.
Ah,
That's a big
that's
one.
right.
That one sucks though.
Ooh, okay. Gave it with the spicy takes. I like it. So maybe he was in there telling, maybe he was like, you know what, look at that. You build it and they will come. Like saying that to Kendrick, where it's like, hey, if you spend money and you build a good team, fans will come out to the field. But the thing that I wanted to ask you guys, obviously, with the big movie star like Kevin Costner visiting the D-backs, this one might be an easy question. Who knows? But what is your favorite baseball film of all time? And let's just take out Moneyball and go with anything else. Because I feel like that would probably be at least my pick. But there's so many ones. I'm going to go, at least for me, I'm going to go that one that I've probably seen the most out of every single baseball film of all time. There was a certain summer back in 3rd or 4th grade where literally every single day, I would wake up, I would watch it. I'm not even kidding you, 3-4 times. I love the movie so much. It was just funny being the start. I've seen it probably close to 50-60 times, and that'd be Rookie of the Year. I call it hot ice. I heat up the ice cubes. One of my favorite all-time lines from any movie ever. But I'm curious what your guys' favorite baseball movie is. If it's Moneyball, obviously you can pick Moneyball, but I figured we can go anywhere outside of Moneyball.
Yeah. Well, first, I just want to say about Kevin Costner. I said it in the group chat. Just like his whole persona, the last 40 years has been like this country, redneck, all American good boy with his accent. Like, listen to Kevin Costner talk. He has like a country accent, and he's from Compton. He was born and raised in Compton. Him and
so
Ice
funny.
Cube were like neighbors in Compton, which is like crazy to me.
That's wild.
Yeah, and but for me, I guess my favorite baseball movie, I guess it is Moneyball. Just very well directed. Writing by Aaron Sorkin is amazing, and anytime you have Aaron Sorkin writing anything, it's amazing. And just the fact that he wrote a baseball movie, something that he hasn't really done. Like usually he does, like more political stuff, like The West Wing. I think he did the Newsroom. That might have been him.
Yes,
And
that
then
was.
The Social Network. Like he does a lot of those really good, amazing dialogue type of movies and TV shows. So it is probably my favorite one. But I guess if we can't really necessarily choose Moneyball, I probably would go with The Sandlot, just because that movie, it is very nostalgic. Like just because I watched it as a kid and we would play baseball outside so much, and just it's a great movie. It's really sweet. It's really funny. But yeah, it's awesome. Also, I want to say, Dodger fans, like stop putting the Moneyball music over any highlights of the Dodgers. There's literally nothing Moneyball related to the Dodgers other than the fact that they use sabermetrics, kind of.
Same with the
And by
Yankees using that on Juan
yeah,
Soto's home run last year. I'm like,
yeah, it's
do you
like
guys know what Moneyball
their
is?
version of sabermetrics is spending $3 billion.
Yes, say, Brandon, what about you? I know the nice thing is that we're doing a draft, so you guys can't pick the same exact movie. Because if we'll have to do that for like another off-season show where we just draft our favorite like baseball related media. But Brandon, what's your favorite baseball film of all time? That's
So
not
what's
Moneyball.
funny is when I was flying back from Mexico yesterday, I watched Moneyball on the plane. I watched like 30 minutes. I'm like, I forgot how much I freaking love this movie. It is so good. Now, is it entirely accurate? No, there's certain things that aren't necessarily true about who really was behind everything that the A's were doing. But for a majority of the movie, it is accurate. Brad Pitt does a great job as Billy Bean, and like Gabe said, Aaron Sorkin hit it out of the park writing this movie. Like
I didn't even know Aaron Sorkin did that until Gabe said it.
does a really good job. Sandlot, also one of my favorite movies. So because Gabe already took that, I will take Major League. I love Major League. Major League is such a good one. Like
You're
I've
talking
seen the
about Major League
first.
Back to the Minors, right? The good one that everyone
Nope,
loved. I'm just...
nope. I'm talking about the first one. Like that's the only one that I will rewatch constantly. Any of the other ones, I'm like, if it's on, I'll watch it. But like, no. And I'm probably gonna end up finishing Moneyball probably tonight because I'm like, I gotta. Like, I know what happens. I've seen the movie. I don't know, 10, 15, probably 20 times. I love it every single time. But yeah,
Yeah.
there is a good. Like, there's a lot of good baseball movies out
Yeah. Also, like, man, in Major League, Renee Russo, man, she is like, there's not a lot of people I would consider beautiful, like, just in general, like actresses, but man, she is something else in that movie. I'm so in love with Renee Russo in that movie. But it's a
there.
great movie.
The whole premise
Also,
is just like, yeah, our
it's
owner
hilarious.
wants to get rid of us, so we're gonna win the whole damn thing.
Yeah. Also, A League of Their Own. I want to shout that one out because I love watching A League of Their Own. It's so good. I cry like 3 or 4 different times in that movie. It's so good. It's such a great movie. Tom Hanks is amazing. Gina Davis, even Madonna, Rosie O'Donnell. Like they're all so freaking good in that movie. John Lovitz as well, who's also in The Benchwarmers, which V is mentioning. It's just such a stupid movie, but it's so fun and so funny to watch.
Yes, there's honestly there's so many good ones. So I like how Josh was saying that he's going to compile a list and put it in the Discord because there's a lot, and that's the nice thing is I think one that's a little bit underrated, and probably one of my second favorite is Little Big League, just because as an actual movie, the baseball played in it is like they get actual athletes, like they actually film in a real stadium back in the old was it the Kingdom or whatever the hell that the Twins used to play in. I'm trying to remember the exact name of it, but like they film in there. Randy Johnson's in it as like the bad guy, which is super funny. Like Lou Piniella.
Also, Griffey runs, I swear, a mile to catch that ball at the end. Oh, he just keeps. I'm like, Jesus, where is he? Right field and running all the way to the left field corner.
Yeah, dude, but that's an elite movie too. If you guys haven't seen Little Big League, definitely check out that. I need to rewatch because I think I've only seen League of Their Own once, and that was years ago when like MLB Network in the off season plays movies. So that's definitely one that I gotta rewatch because I think I probably remember that one the least. But I've always heard like like even Gabe said, it seems like no matter who you ask, they always sing its praises every single time it's brought up.
There's a
Yeah, I
lot
mean
of
that's the
good
thing.
ones
It's
out there.
just with something like baseball compared to other sports movies, it's just the fact that like you have built-in drama, and that's what I love about baseball. Like you can get right into the players' faces, like it's the pitcher versus the batter. It's Game 7 of the World Series. They zoom in on each of their faces. You can see their faces clearly. You can see the drama, and all you got to do is just put a story behind it, and suddenly it's an Oscar-winning movie. And I mean, there's so many. Like we're talking about the Costner ones, Bull Durham, All the Field of Dreams is a garbage movie, and I'll die on that hill. I don't understand why it's so great. The only good thing about that movie is just the very end when he plays catch with his dad. That's literally it. There's like a whole like 45 to an hour long segment of that movie where they're just like I don't know, it's stupid. I hate that movie. It's a bad movie. But there's so many other ones like Bull Durham, Angels in the Outfield. It's a cute movie. Also, Matthew McConaughey and Adrian Brody are in it. Weirdly, um, but yeah, let's see. There's man, I just thought about some other. Oh, Pride of the Yankees. Pride of the Yankees is from 1954 or 5. Gary Cooper plays Lou Gehrig. Great movie. Makes me cry at
This
the
one
end.
too. This one too.
What was the one that Brendan Fraser was in, where he's like a prospect that's brought up to be like the Yankees find him somewhere, and he makes his major league debut, and he throws like super hard, but he has like anxiety, like basically like he's afraid of crowds. I'm trying to remember which one that was. That one was okay.
The Zach Greinke story.
Yeah, basically the Zach Greinke story before Zach. One movie that I personally did not enjoy the most, maybe it's just because I watched it when I was younger and I gotta, give it another chance now that obviously I'm a little bit older, is The Rookie. I did not enjoy The Rookie. That one was so fucking long and so boring, in my opinion. Like
Josh is just throwing out bangers right now because Trouble with the Curve. Also, very
that's
good
what
movie.
Clint Eastwood, right?
Yep. The one where he's a scout.
Yeah, that one's pretty solid. Except for it does get a little bit like looking back on it, it's a little like, oh, who needs numbers and metrics when you got the eye? And I'm like, okay, all right, Grandpa.
Except you can't see. The guy can't see.
Let's get
Oh,
you
so
into the.
we're forgetting
Uh-huh.
about the natural. The natural, they still play that soundtrack anytime somebody has a home run. That's such a great movie. I love the natural. It's so freaking good. And then they filmed it in the old version of Wrigley Fields too. So being able to see some of these older baseball stadiums in that movie is so freaking cool.
Yeah, so Mr. Charles brings it up in the chat too. Mr. 3000 is a pretty good one too. I think with Bernie Mac, right?
Yep.
That one's just a pretty good
Rest
story in general.
peace.
Like, yeah, R.I.P. But that one was pretty good too. I remember seeing that years ago. Kind of like the typical, you get to see. It's not as good of an arc as my man Zuko from Avatar: The Last Airbender, but Mr. 3000's character arc is a pretty solid one in that movie. And man, we could just talk about baseball movies all night because there's a lot that I forget about. There's a lot that maybe I'm happy I forget about. So we're definitely gonna need our man Josh to put that list in the Discord because especially once my son's here and I'm at home and I got time to kill, I'm gonna be like, all right, Caleb, we're watching a bunch of baseball movies. Let's put it up in the queue because we got time to kill. Yeah, Major League is good. There's Major League 1 and 2. We don't need to discuss Major League Back to the Minors. I remember watching that one years ago and I was like, wow, holy shit, this movie is bad.
Me
Don't
too.
ever. Yeah, 42 is
42.
good too. Dude, I remember seeing that one with my grandpa. That one was that's a really sad movie too. Especially R.I.P. Chadwick Boseman. He was great as Jackie in that movie. God, we could literally go here for hours here, but we'll move on from there. If you guys are listening, let us know either on like in the comments on YouTube. If you're listening on Twitter, reply to us. Maybe we'll put out like a tweet as well. Let us know your favorite baseball movie, or maybe even your least favorite baseball movie, or even just go in the Discord. And if you guys are listening to this afterwards, which again, in the description, it's free. Make sure you guys hop in, especially as we're getting rolling into the season. Absolute blast in there. It's just constantly popping off. High School Musical too. Honestly, my wife brings this up all the time. Twilight's a baseball movie. Throw that in there too. If they're playing baseball in there, you can add that to the list too. But there's a lot that we can go over, so we'll kind of save that for another time because maybe in the off season we'll do maybe we'll do like a baseball movie draft because that'd be kind of a fun one. Honestly, there's a lot to pick there. But going on into our final topic of today. Obviously, we didn't go live sooner just because we got a little bit busy this last weekend. But we do have the giveaway winner announcement, as you guys probably saw, or at least if you guys don't remember, we were giving away a few items for you guys to kind of show our appreciation for each and every one of you guys. We got the Hall of Fame shirt for Randy and Gonzo. Got the Corbin Carroll bobblehead. Got the baseball signed by guys like Brandon Fott, Jake McCarthy, Dre Jameson, Seth Martinez, Renee Pinto, Thomas Gritchick, and Kessinger. And then one of the best and most iconic Topps Now baseball cards for the D-backs and baseball in general. Got the B guy, Matt Hilton. So I believe we have the winner graphic ready to go. If you want to pass it on to either Brandon or Josh, take it away. And let's see who's getting this absolute heater of a package. And the winner is at JKen0981. Was that on YouTube? Looks like.
That was a YouTube comment. Yes.
Heck yeah! Congrats, JKen. Say if you are listening, reach out to us, or worst case scenario, we will try to reach out to you. We'll get your information. We'll get this all shipped out to you, and make sure you get your fun D-back stuff again to kind of show off. And again, we appreciate you guys. If you guys didn't win, again, we are sorry. We are doing probably some more giveaways. Like I even got these from last year. They'll probably throw in a giveaway soon. Got the replica jerseys. Got a ton of other things to go through. So we still got more giveaways cooked up and ready. Here's a little teaser. Maybe this one will be a part of one in the future. Maybe throw that in there, as part of the next one, a little sneak peek onto what you could get in on the next one, a little Jordan Lawler rookie autograph from Topps Stadium Club. So definitely keep an eye out for more giveaways in the future. Again, we try to do as many as we can to kind of show our appreciation for you guys. Give back because
First of all, sir, you didn't enter the Twitter giveaway and you didn't leave a comment on the video. So how can we rig it that way? Best way, send us an email at, I always forget what it is, diamondbacksdispatch@gmail.com. So we'll give you a couple of days. You may not be watching live, but you're watching on the replay. Just go ahead and send us a email there. That way we can correspond with you to get all that fun gear out to you.
Heck yeah. Say again, congrats everybody if you didn't win. We wish you best luck in all of your ones in the future because again, we're going to be trying to do as many as we can. So there will be more opportunities for you guys to win one. Also want to give a shout out because at the concert, the Movements concert this last weekend, I didn't catch your name, but did have somebody come up to me, recognize me from the podcast and say that they listened. So if you are listening, appreciate the support as always. MVP. Let me know in the either reach out on YouTube, Twitter, or whatnot. Let me know your name because I want to, give you a shout out for that because that is cool. Feel like a little celebrity in the last few times when people have like noticed us out in public and whatnot. And my wife is making jokes like, you got to start charging $5 per autograph, and I'm like, my autograph is not even worth the ink that it's being written with. Okay, like we need to slow my roll a little bit, but yeah, appreciate all of you guys. If you see any of us out in public anywhere, whether it's like Dbacks games, spring training games, even the grocery store, whatnot, always feel free to come up, say hi, chat about some Dbacks, talk ball, because we love doing that. That's literally what we're here to do for an hour and a half. Every single time we do one of these shows is we just love to talk ball. So if you ever see any of us, even our producer Josh, I know that he's kind of behind the scenes right now, but he is also a part of this team as well. Make sure don't forget about him because we wouldn't be able to do a lot of what we're doing here without him. So if you see any of us four out here, make sure you kind of say what's up, get our attention, chat ball with us a little bit because we do appreciate all of you guys' support. So again, seriously, thank you from the bottom of our heart. But any final thoughts, gentlemen, before we get out of here? I know obviously I was only here for the last half of the show. As we talked about earlier, I was a little bit of an EP boy earlier, and my alarm didn't go off. But any final thoughts on the two Corbins, Perdomo, or maybe another baseball movie that you didn't think of until now?
I just want to say, let's start the season. I'm a little bit over spring training at this point, and yeah, it's just because I haven't aired the game. So I guess I would say to the Dbacks, please put some games on TV. I want to see them because, like Jeff mentioned, Brandon Fudge using a cutter. I'm like, we wouldn't know unless we check game day because we can't actually see him use the cutter, so we don't know how nasty it is.
Yeah, so the only nice thing about spring training is it's funny. Every other ticket is super expensive except for ones like right behind the dugout. Like me and Kayla might go to one on Sunday, and I was like, ooh, I can get one that's second row right behind the Dbacks dugout for like $70. Like still too fucking expensive for a spring training game, but I know I couldn't get that in the regular season for the Dbacks. So that's the one positive and the nugget of shit that is a spring training shit show, whether you're trying to watch a game or actually go to one in person. But Brandon, same to you. Any final thoughts on the two Corbins, Perdomo, maybe even a baseball movie we didn't think about?
I think we got two Cy Young candidates in that starting rotation, and I think we have two MVP candidates, the top two guys in our lineup. So I think with that, like your expectation at minimum should be 90 wins. That's like, there's no reason that they shouldn't be able to hit that 90 wins. I think you can get 95. Y'all, I'll be annoying if the Dodgers don't even win the West. Like, I know that's outrageous to say, and Dodger fans will be like, "How? Like, there's no way. There's no way. It's Dodgers all the way, bro." There's a reason we play the games. I'm just saying, and Dodgers have injuries every year, and it's always to their pitching staff. So,
my buddy Kendall, when he was at the baby shower, was saying he's like, all right, so if the Dodgers go on and win the World Series again, you want to have a little bet to where you have to put Slade in a Dodgers onesie, like bring him to a game. And I was like, I'm not letting any Dodgers shit even touch him.
You're
like,
I'm not,
save your money. No, I'm sorry, I'm not doing it.
Next televised game is Friday. It'll be the Angels broadcast, but the next 2 days will be on radio of some form. I don't know. So according to this, it's not going to be 98.7, but you can at least go on the MLB app and listen to a audio feed.
Yeah, and I will say, like, a lot of people, like, when I post that as a meme, but also I'm being serious, like, on Twitter about, like, how it feels to have to watch these games on game day or anything else. And people always say, like, oh, we'll go to the game. So I'm like, how am I going to go to the game at 1 p.m.? Like, I'm not a Dodger fan. I actually have a job.
Yeah, so I mean,
That's
and the funny thing
only
is,
downside to spring training is games are at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
unless you get one of the rare like night games, I think the D-backs have like 1 or 2 night games.
Well, one of them's a spring breakout game.
Breakout. That one should be
So
pretty
it-
fun.
I think that's next Thursday or Friday.
Yeah, against the Royals, correct? That'll be pretty fun. You'll probably get to see Jack Caglione, the dude with the number 6 overall pick in the draft. Like, got to see that guy in the fall league. Holy shit, is he big? Like that dude is jacked. He looks like a NFL tight end when he's out there. Dude is a monster, and I believe he's a little two-way pitcher. So I don't know if the Royals are gonna let him do some two-way show off there for the spring breakout game, but that'll be a fun one still. So night game this Thursday at Sloan Park. Heck yeah, V. Say I still got to make it out to Sloan with the family because I've always heard fun things about Sloan. But again, those ticket prices are no joke. My goodness. But yeah, so next televised broadcast on Friday. We should be back again at some point this week. We're trying to get back into a schedule, getting you guys like 2 streams a week, getting you the as much D-backs coverage as we possibly can. Again, if you see us out in any games that we make too, say what's up to us. Follow us on Twitter. Make sure you join the Discord as well. It should be in the description. It is free. You don't have to worry about paying any money to get clickbait titles everywhere. Make sure you guys, again, follow us on Blue Sky as well. And check out all the great content over on azsnakebit.com. There's some absolute bangers over there. Every single day, there's always some new content, always new articles. So it's not like you're having to worry about going multiple days in between stuff. Always just set a timer and go check out AZ Snake Pit, create an account, join the community, get on there, leave some comments, thoughts, opinions. Even like Jeff, he had on the Perdomo and Cattell, he had a poll in there. So you always leave like chance to leave polls. It's just a great time over there on azsnakepit.com. So make sure you guys go over there. Check it out and tell them that Dbacks Dispatch sent you. I'm just kidding. Don't actually do that. I just like to say that. But again, appreciate each and every single one of you guys for tuning in. I know you guys obviously tuned in before I did. I'll make sure I'm awake and my alarm is ready to go for the next time. But again, we appreciate each and every single one of you guys for tuning in here on this episode of Dbacks Dispatch. We will be back soon and we will be ready to talk plenty more Dbacks ball. But in the meantime, go Snakes.
It's the Dbacks Dispatch. Let's go. Yeah, brand new red game, Josh on the floor. West Coast vibes, catch us on the air. Home running dogs, diamond gems we share. Brandon was a dad, Caesar man was a plan. Red races down, tells it like it is, man. Gabs on fire, brings the heat every time. Josh on the mix, keep the beat so prime. I got that insight, 7 weeks ahead. Tune in, Dbacks Dispatch, this is it. Now we rollin'. Dbacks Dispatch, yeah. Talking Brandon, Brandon Gay, this is Big Kench. Josh on the mix, he make the beats. West Coast vibe, got the G fucking the bad. The home Mac, the home Mac, the home Mac, home Mac. Dbacks Dispatch, we here to stay. Yeah, catch us every week, we bring the flavor to it. We got the home Mac, the home Mac, the home Mac, home Mac. Dbacks Dispatch, we here to stay. Catch us every week, we bring the flavor to it.